if you have anything, come out as fast as possible and get it to any detachment or any police service that you have available to get to talk to. And Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack. Bugs, they're like best friends, not just brother and sister. Still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
2 children vanish without a trace. No footprints, no witnesses, no clues. Just silence. 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan disappeared from their Nova Scotia home in the dead of night. As the search stretched on, hope turned to fear, and suspicion began to fall where no one wanted it, inside their own family. 2 children, Lily and Jack Sullivan, vanish in the dead of night. No witnesses. No evidence. No sound, just silence. It was May 2nd, 2025, when the quiet town of Pictou County, Nova Scotia, woke up to a nightmare. Families were just beginning their mornings, unaware that within one modest home, a tragedy was already unfolding. Inside that home, 6-year-old Lily and her 4-year-old brother Jack were gone. No one heard footsteps on the wooden floor, no one noticed the creak of a door, no cries echoed in the stillness of the night. Their disappearance was as sudden as it was chilling, leaving behind an eerie emptiness. Neighbors would later recall how calm the night had seemed, no dogs barking, no car engines revving, no unusual movement in the streets. Yet, by dawn, that same silence transformed into terror, as the realization spread that 2 small children had simply vanished into the darkness. What should have been an ordinary spring morning in Nova Scotia became the beginning of one of the most haunting mysteries the province had ever seen. The absence of Lily and Jack was not just felt inside their home, it rippled through the entire community, leaving families shaken, investigators on high alert, and a town gripped by fear. The initial theory was unsettling but simple: the children may have slipped out through an unlocked sliding glass door. Perhaps curiosity led them outside. Maybe it was a restless night, an innocent urge to wander beneath the stars. But for investigators, something about that theory felt hollow. 2 small children leaving a home in the middle of the night should have left signs, yet there were none. Yet, when search teams mobilized, nothing made sense. The ground outside the Sullivan home was soft from spring rain, yet there were no footprints. No broken twigs. No trail. Nothing that suggested the tiny steps of Lily and Jack had ever touched the earth beyond that door. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. The RCMP launched one of the province's largest search operations. Entire units were dispatched within hours. Helicopters swept across forests, their powerful spotlights cutting through the darkness. Drones scanned wetlands, mapping every patch of ground with precision. Boats dragged rivers, moving slowly, carefully, searching for any sign of disturbance in the current. On land, search dogs combed the ground, their noses trained to catch even the faintest trace of scent. And then, the community joined in. Ordinary people turned into searchers, forming lines that stretched across fields and woodland. Neighbors walked shoulder to shoulder, calling the children's names. Their voices echoed through forests and valleys: Lily, Jack. But the woods remained still. Each call was met with silence. The more they searched, the more chilling the truth became: there was simply nothing to find. By May 7th, just 5 days later, the large-scale search was scaled back. The helicopters that once circled the skies had returned to their bases. The drones that hovered over wetlands were grounded. Volunteers who had walked miles through mud, rivers, and dense brush were told to step back. The once bustling command post was now quieter, filled not with urgent instructions but with unanswered questions. The reason was painfully clear: despite hundreds of people searching day and night, no evidence had been found outside. Not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, not a broken branch that could prove Lily or Jack had ever left their home. And so, investigators turned their eyes inward, toward the Sullivan home. Was the sliding glass door really left unlocked? Detectives studied it closely, running tests, opening and closing it, asking again and again, could it have been overlooked that night, or was this detail a red herring? Could two small children have opened it themselves? Investigators considered Lily's age, 6 years old, tall enough to reach the handle, strong enough to push it open. But Jack, just 4, would have struggled. Was it possible they worked together? Or was someone else responsible for moving that door? And then came the most disturbing possibility of all, if not, then what happened inside that house? The questions hung heavy in the air. If the children didn't walk out on their own, then someone may have taken them, or worse, something may have happened within those very walls that in missing child cases, parents are often the first to face scrutiny. It is a painful but necessary step in any investigation, because statistics show that the answers are often found closest to home. The Sullivans' accounts were consistent on the surface, but cracks appeared under questioning. At first, their statements matched. Both parents described a quiet evening, the children asleep in their beds, nothing unusual until the morning when they discovered them missing. But as detectives pressed for precision, exact times, small details, times didn't line up. Details shifted slightly. A minute here, a contradiction there. Tiny inconsistencies that investigators are trained never to ignore. Their behavior in the media fueled debate. Television cameras captured the parents standing side by side, appealing for their children's safe return. Some saw genuine grief. Their eyes red, their voices trembling, words breaking under the weight of loss. Others saw detachment, or perhaps rehearsed emotion. Were their tears real, or carefully presented? Was their composure admirable, or suspicious? While the public argued, behind the scenes, detectives dug into phone records, financial activity, and the family's daily routine. Every call was traced, every message scrutinized. Bank accounts were examined for strange withdrawals or payments. Investigators reconstructed the family's schedule hour by hour, searching for gaps in the timeline, any clue that might explain what happened between bedtime and the moment Lily and Jack vanished. The deeper they dug, the more urgent the question became, were the Sullivans' desperate parents searching for their children, or were they hiding something? The investigation soon widened. Detectives knew that in cases like this, no circle was too small, no relationship too sacred to examine. Blood ties did not rule anyone out. Everyone close to Lily and Jack had to be looked at, not as loved ones, but as potential suspects. Grandparents, aunts, and uncles, all were questioned. One by one, family members sat under the harsh lights of the interview room. Investigators asked the same questions again and again. Where were you that night? What time did you last see the children? Did you notice anything unusual? Some gave vague answers. Others appeared defensive. There were long pauses, shrugged shoulders, and contradictions. Some relatives claimed not to remember small but important details, like whether they had spoken to the children in the days leading up to May 2nd. Others grew frustrated, pushing back against the police, insisting they were wasting time while Lily and Jack were still missing. To detectives, both vagueness and defensiveness were red flags. And then, the spotlight turned to one woman, Belinda Gray, the children's grandmother, became a central figure. Belinda was not just another family member, she was a matriarch, a constant presence in Lily and Jack's lives. Her bond with them was undeniable. She attended birthdays, babysat on weekends, and often described the children as her little angels. But when Belinda finally spoke to the media, her words stunned both investigators and the public. In a trembling voice, fighting back tears, she said, "My heart tells me these babies are gone." The statement cut like a knife. Here was a grandmother, not clinging to hope, but surrendering to despair. Reporters replayed the clip again and again, debating its meaning. Was this grief, or something more? Was Belinda simply overwhelmed, her heart breaking under the weight of loss? Or did she know something, something the police hadn't yet uncovered? For investigators, her words added a new layer of urgency. If Belinda truly believed the children were gone, why? Was it intuition? A slip of the tongue? Or a window into a darker family secret? The community, already divided in their suspicions, now turned a sharper eye toward the Sullivan family. And as police pushed deeper, one thing became painfully clear: finding Lily and Jack was no longer just a search for missing children, it was an excavation of family truths, hidden tensions, and secrets buried just beneath the surface. National media soon picked up the story. What began as a local search in Pictou County quickly became a headline across Canada. By the end of the week, images of two innocent faces, one 6 years old, the other just 4, were being broadcast into every household. Reporters arrived from Halifax, Toronto, even international outlets, setting up cameras on quiet suburban streets that had never seen such attention. Lily and Jack's faces were everywhere, on posters, television, and social media. Flyers were stapled to telephone poles, taped to shop windows, pinned to community boards in schools and grocery stores. Their smiling portraits, birthday photos, school pictures, family snapshots, were shared thousands of times across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Strangers hundreds of miles away now knew the names Lily and Jack Sullivan. They became symbols of innocence lost, two children who had vanished without a trace. But with visibility came something else, with coverage came judgment. The media didn't just report, it analyzed, speculated, and questioned. Every detail about the Sullivan family's lives was scrutinized, every inconsistency magnified under the lens of a 24-hour news cycle. Internet detectives dissected every word and gesture from the family. On YouTube, TikTok, and online forums, strangers replayed interviews frame by frame. Did the parents cry enough? Did their body language look sincere? Why did the mother glance away when asked about the sliding glass door? Why did the father pause before answering? Amateur sleuths broke down tone, posture, even micro-expressions, convinced that truth, or deception, was hidden in plain sight. Some defended them. Loyal supporters argued the family was being unfairly judged in the middle of their darkest hour. They insisted grief has no script, that no one can predict how a parent should act after losing two children. For every critical post online, another person pushed back, urging compassion and reminding the world that the focus should be on finding Lily and Jack, not condemning their parents. Others insisted the truth was already hidden inside the home. To them, the unlocked sliding glass door theory was flimsy. The absence of footprints, the silence of the night, the inconsistencies in the parents' stories, all of it pointed inward. They argued that someone inside the Sullivan household knew more than they were saying, and that the mystery wasn't in the woods or the rivers outside, but within the walls of that house. As the debate raged on, the Sullivans were caught in a storm that was no longer just about their missing children. It was about perception. Every interview, every public appearance, every tear, or lack of one, was put on trial in the court of public opinion. For investigators, this public frenzy was both a blessing and a curse. The national attention kept the case alive, generating tips and leads from across the country. But it also flooded the police with noise, false sightings, fabricated stories, and conspiracy theories that blurred the line between fact and fiction. The case of Lily and Jack Sullivan was no longer just a missing persons investigation. It had become a national obsession, one that raised an unsettling question: were the children victims of a tragic accident, an outside abduction, or was the truth, as so many feared, waiting to be uncovered within their own family? Then came troubling contradictions. Investigators noticed them first during interviews. At the surface, family accounts seemed aligned, but the closer detectives looked, the more cracks began to appear. The smallest details, the ones that should have been automatic, turned into inconsistencies. One family member claimed to see the children late on May 1st, another said it was earlier that day. That difference, just a matter of hours, carried enormous weight. If Lily and Jack were last seen in the evening, it meant they disappeared overnight. But if they were last seen earlier, the window of time widened dramatically. For investigators, the timeline, the foundation of any missing persons case, was already unstable. Phone records revealed movements that clashed with their statements. Cell towers told a story that words did not. While some family members claimed to be at home, their phones connected to towers miles away. While others said they hadn't left, pings suggested late-night travel along back roads. Each contradiction chipped away at the credibility of the Sullivans' accounts. Neighbors reported late-night arguments and a vehicle leaving at odd hours. It wasn't just what was happening inside the home, it was what people outside had seen and heard. Some recalled raised voices around midnight. Others noticed a car pulling out of the driveway, headlights slicing through the darkness at an hour when the rest of the neighborhood was asleep. None of it aligned with the calm, ordinary picture the family tried to paint. And inside the children's room, forensic evidence didn't match the family's timeline. Investigators found details too subtle for the untrained eye but impossible to ignore: bedding disturbed in a way inconsistent with sleep, toys positioned differently than described, and faint impressions on the carpet suggesting movement long after the children were supposedly tucked in. Taken separately, these anomalies could be explained away. Individually, these details proved nothing. But together, when laid side by side in case files, they painted a far darker portrait, one that could not be ignored. But together, they pointed toward one chilling possibility: someone inside the Sullivan family knows far more than they're saying. For the community, this possibility was devastating. For investigators, it was inevitable. The net was tightening, and the once grieving family was now shifting into the crosshairs of suspicion. The truth was no longer about what happened outside the house, but about what might have taken place behind its closed doors. Months later, Lily and Jack remain missing. The town of Pictou County is quiet again, but the silence is heavy. Streets that were once filled with search volunteers are now empty. Posters of Lily and Jack, once plastered on every lamp post, telephone pole, and storefront, are fading under the sun and rain. Local schools hold memorial moments for the children, yet no answers come. Friends and neighbors speak in hushed tones, afraid to voice suspicions too loudly. The air of normalcy is gone, replaced by a lingering unease. Every corner of the town seems to whisper a question: where are the children? The forests, rivers, and wetlands that were scoured by helicopters, drones, and boats now stand silent once again. Footprints that should have told a story vanished. Dogs trained to detect the faintest human scent returned empty-pawed. And yet, some residents swear they feel a presence, a shadow of the children that once played in the streets. Every echo of laughter remembered now contrasts with the stark reality of absence. What began as unity has fractured into suspicion. In the early days, the community moved as one. Parents, neighbors, even strangers joined hands, combing the woods and calling the children's names. Vigils were held. Candles burned. Prayers were offered. But as days turned into weeks, that unity frayed. Rumors began to circulate. Fingers started pointing inward. Close friends of the family whispered doubts. Tensions rose at school pickups and in local stores. The sense of shared grief slowly turned into unease, then suspicion, then distrust. The grandmother's words still echo. Belinda Gray's voice, raw with emotion, reverberated across the media when she said, "My heart tells me these babies are gone." Those words have not faded, they linger like a haunting refrain in every conversation about the case. To some, they were the heartfelt cry of a grandmother's grief. To others, a subtle acknowledgement of truths unspoken, knowledge hidden behind closed doors. Interviews reveal that even within the family, her words have caused division, raising questions that remain unanswered. Digital evidence doesn't align with the family's stories. Investigators painstakingly pieced together phone records, location data, and online activity. Gaps appeared, hours unaccounted for, movements that contradicted statements given under oath. Even mundane purchases, when tracked digitally, painted a timeline that clashed with the family's narrative. These pieces of evidence, though silent on their own, together suggest inconsistencies that cannot be ignored. Each conflicting timestamp, each unexplained digital footprint, is a silent witness to what may have happened. Neighbors recall strange noises in the night. Late-night arguments, cars starting and leaving at unusual hours, doors opening and closing when no one should have been awake. Some report hearing the soft cries of a child that cannot be verified. Others mention dogs barking furiously at empty yards. Small details, seemingly trivial, start to form a larger, unsettling pattern. The collective memory of the town preserves fragments of that night, fragmented sounds, half-glimpses, fleeting shadows. They haunt the minds of those who were there, lingering like an unresolved question. Investigators continue to follow every lead, but months of searching have yielded no concrete answers. Each interview, each recorded conversation, each review of the digital trail adds pieces to a puzzle that refuses to fit together. The longer Lily and Jack remain missing, the deeper the shadows grow, not only over the town but over the hearts of everyone involved. So, we ask: did Lily and Jack truly vanish into the night? Or does the truth remain locked behind closed doors? The questions are simple, yet impossible to answer. Were the children taken by chance? Or were their disappearances part of something far more deliberate? Every unanswered question leaves room for doubt, suspicion, and fear. Families in the community now lock their doors, children are watched more closely, and the once peaceful nights of Pictou County are forever changed. The case of Lily and Jack Sullivan has transformed into more than a search for missing children. It has become a story of mystery, silence, and the unknown. A story where every shadow, every creak of a floorboard, and every unspoken glance carries weight. A story that reminds us that sometimes, even in the quietest towns, the most profound darkness can hide behind closed doors. Until the day answers emerge, the fate of Lily and Jack Sullivan remains a chilling enigma. A haunting reminder of how quickly normal life can be eclipsed by fear, doubt, and the unimaginable. And as the town sleeps under the heavy quiet of Nova Scotia nights, one question persists: will the truth ever be found, or will it forever remain behind locked doors?